At Christmas my mom gave 4 Europe tickets, not 5. I asked, "Where's mine?" She smiled. "You wouldn't fit the vibe." So I flew to Japan, let silence answer. So my mother withdrew me from a family trip to Europe for Christmas since I wouldn't fit in. I retaliated by organizing my own trip somewhere nicer, posting the images, and when she inquired why she wasn't invited, I used her same words back to her. "Grab some food since this will be a lengthy one." I, a 29-year-old male, have been the black sheep of my family for as long as I can remember. Not because I did something wrong. Actually, it is the contrary. I've always been the one who takes responsibility and shows up. The person who handles everything but receives nothing in return. My younger sister Madison, a 26-year-old female, is the golden kid, having never experienced a consequence in her life. And my younger brother Tyler, a 24-year-old man, is the baby of the family who can actually set the house on fire. My folks would blame the matches for being overly combustible. Allow me to paint you a picture of my childhood. When I was 17, I worked every summer at a neighborhood restaurant, washing dishes and bussing tables to save money for my first automobile. Saved $3,600 over 3 years. My parents contributed exactly nil. Meanwhile, Madison received a beautiful new Honda Accord for her 17th birthday because she required reliable transportation to cheerleading practice. Tyler purchased a Jeep Grand Cherokee when he turned 17, because lads require something robust. I drove a 2001 Toyota Camry with 165,000 miles, which I purchased myself. The bias was so obvious it was almost impressive. Report cards were issued. My straight A's received a great compliment, honey, yet Madison's C average was applauded because she is doing her best, which is all that matters. When I won the science fair in 9th school, my parents failed to attend the awards ceremony. Madison won 3rd place in a local beauty competition that same year, so they threw her a party and invited the entire extended family. I recall sitting alone in that gymnasium, holding my award and witnessing other children being hugged by their parents. My teacher had to drive me home. When I was accepted to a good university with a partial scholarship, my parents indicated they couldn't afford to cover the remainder. They made me feel terrible for even asking, as if I was being selfish by seeking an education. When Madison decided she wanted to attend an expensive private school 3 years later with no scholarship money, they discovered a method to make it work. They refinanced the house, took out loans, and did whatever was necessary for her. When I asked why they couldn't have done the same for me, my mother answered, "That's different. Madison has always wanted this." As if I didn't value my education as much. I put myself through college by working 2 jobs. I finished with honors in computer science, whereas Madison changed courses 4 times and took 7 years to complete a communications degree that she has never utilized. Tyler dropped out after 3 years to find himself and has been staying on my parents' couch ever since. Guess who the family is disappointed with though? The person who genuinely has his life together. After college I found a good work as a software developer with a tech business in Austin, Texas. A good pay, excellent benefits, and, most crucially, distance from my family in Ohio. I figured putting some space between us would help. Maybe they'd finally recognize me as my own person, rather than just the responsible one they might dismiss. Spoiler alert, it did not help. Every holiday became a grueling act in which I'd travel back to Ohio, spend hundreds of dollars on thoughtful gifts for everyone, and then receive the most simple gifts imaginable in return. Last Christmas, I gave Madison a fancy handbag she had been seeking for months. It cost me $450. She bought me a petrol station gift card for $25. Tyler didn't even try to get me anything. I just said, "I forgot, bro, my bad." And everyone laughed like it was adorable. My mother always had an excuse ready. Madison had been really anxious about her career. What is the job? She works part-time in a boutique and lives rent-free in my parents' basement apartment. Tyler is going through a hard patch. He's been going through a hard patch for 6 years. When does the patch merge with the rest of the quilt? What really bothers me is that I never gave up trying. I kept showing up, making an effort and thinking that perhaps this time would be different. Every Christmas I'd think, okay, this is the year they finally see me. And every holiday, I'd leave feeling like a stranger in my own home. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for last Christmas. It was December 22nd, and I had just arrived in Ohio from a delayed flight that had transformed a 4-hour journey into an 8-hour nightmare. I was fatigued, irritable, and honestly wondered why I bothered going home. But it was Christmas. You understand? Family is family. Or so I kept telling myself. I arrived at my parents' residence around 7:45 p.m. The whole family was already present. Mom, Dad, Madison and her month-long lover, Logan. Tyler reclined on the couch, playing video games as if it were his work. Which it was, technically. My mother welcomed me with one of those half hugs, glancing beyond you to see whether I had brought anything. Oh, you made it. We already ate dinner, but there's some leftovers in the fridge. No, how were your flights? No. Good to see you. Just an acknowledgement of my existence along with information about food scraps or something. I was used to it. Christmas Eve brought more of the same. Madison dominated every conversation by discussing her influencer journey on social media, where she had approximately 2,300 followers, the most of whom were likely bots. Tyler moaned about how difficult his life was while providing little to society. My father asked me twice if I could look at his computer because it was running slowly, and I agreed because that is evidently my responsibility in this family. It supports an ATM machine. Then came Christmas morning. We gathered in the living room for our gift exchange, like we do every year. The tree was tastefully adorned. My mother always went all out for Christmas decorations. Presents were stacked underneath and everyone was in the festive Christmas morning mood. Well, everyone but me. I had a strange feeling in my gut, like something was wrong. My mother rose up with a bright smile on her face. Okay everyone, before we start opening the regular presents, your father and I have a very special announcement. She reached behind the tree and took out 4 envelopes. 4? Not 5. 4. This year we decided to do something very memorable for our family. We'll be taking everyone on a trip to Europe in late April. 15 days, 5 countries. France, Italy, Switzerland, Spain, and one more. Madison screamed as if she had won the jackpot. Tyler actually put down his phone, which was comparable to him giving a standing ovation. Logan, or whatever his name was impressed, perhaps calculating how much free content this would provide for Madison's awful Instagram. I waited there, waiting for my envelope. My mother handed one to Madison. Here's your ticket, sweetie. Then one for Tyler. And yours, baby. Then one for my father. Of sure. One for you, honey. She sat back down. I scanned the room, waiting for someone to see the obvious. Nobody did. Mom, I finally asked, where's my ticket? She gave me this look. This is a look I will never forget. It was a mix of displeasure and satisfaction, as if she had been waiting for me to ask. Oh well. She looked at my father, who had suddenly become interested in the carpet. We only had enough money for 5 tickets and we assumed you couldn't get time off work anyhow. I felt as if I had been hit in the gut. You did not even ask me. Madison also jumped in, filing her nails as if we were discussing the weather. It's kind of a vibe trip, where we want to do enjoyable things. Nightlife, late nights, and unplanned escapades. You're not really that man. Tyler snorted. Yeah, brother, you'd probably want to visit museums and such. Boring. I looked at my mother, ready for her to defend me and say anything. Anything. Instead, she shrugged. They have a point. Honey, you wouldn't really fit in. You seem so serious all the time. We want this to be a joyful and relaxing trip. And honestly, you'd probably only dampen the vibe. I wouldn't fit the vibe. Allow me to tell you something about that phrase. It sounds nearly harmless, right? Like a casual observation. But my mother actually declared to me on Christmas morning in front of my entire family, you're not fun enough to be included. You don't belong with us. We'd rather spend 15 days in Europe without you than have to deal with your presence. That is what you wouldn't fit the vibe means. I sat there in silence for what seemed like a lifetime, but was really only 40 seconds. Everyone had already moved on. Madison was excited about what she was going to pack. Tyler was looking up the greatest parties in Ibiza, even though I wasn't on the agenda. My father was deliberately avoiding eye contact with me. I stood up. Where are you going? My mother inquired, barely looking up from observing Madison's reaction. I need to get some air. I stepped out into the backyard and stood there in the chilly Ohio winter, staring at nothing. 29 years of being the nice son, the responsible one, the one who never caused trouble, always showed up, and tried to make things work. And this is what I received. I was excluded from a family trip because I didn't fit in. Something changed in me that day. Something basic. I'd spent my entire life trying to establish a position in my own family. I finally realized the reality. I was not going to receive it. Not because of anything I did or didn't do, but because they had already determined who I was to them. The afterthought, the obligation, the one they tolerated rather than enjoyed. Fine. If that's how they want to play it, game on. I returned inside and went about my business for the remainder of Christmas. Smiled and opened presents. I purchased a pair of socks and a generic, "World's OK Sun" mug at a petrol station, and pretended everything was okay. But within, I was already planning. Here's the thing about being responsible. The one that everyone underestimates. You improve various skills. You learn to plan, strategize, and anticipate 3 moves ahead. While my siblings were relying on handouts and charm, I was creating something. A career, savings, and a life free of external approval. And now I was going to utilize it all. I flew back to Austin on December 27th. By December 29th, I'd already begun researching. They traveled to Europe in late April. Perfect. That gave me ample time. First, I checked my PTO balance. I had nearly 5 weeks saved up because, unlike other people, I constantly showed up for work. I requested 15 days off in mid-April, which is exactly the same time frame as their trip. Then I began preparing my own vacation. But here's when it gets good. I was not going to Europe. Europe was basic. Everyone travels to Europe. No, I was planning to do something better. Something that would make their 5-country tour appear like a trip to the local mall. After weeks of researching, I decided on a vacation to Japan and the Philippines. 15 days of truly fantastic adventures. Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka are followed by a flight to Palawan, which has some of the world's most magnificent beaches. I'm talking about world-class temples, wonderful food, breathtaking natural landscapes, and experiences they could only dream of. The best thing was that I could afford it because, while my siblings were mooching off my parents and wasting money on VIP tables and designer clothes, I was saving and investing. My vacation cost nearly the same as theirs, around $8,500 total, but I paid for it myself. No handouts are necessary. I scheduled everything in January. Flights, hotels, tours, the works. I even indulged in a few premium experiences. A traditional ryokan stay in Kyoto, a private island hopping trip in Palawan, and front row seating at a sumo event in Tokyo. This was going to be more than just a journey. This was going to be an adventure. Then I waited. The months leading up to late April were intriguing. My mother would sometimes SMS the family group chat with updates on our Europe trip, such as restaurant reservations in Paris and hotel confirmations in Rome. I never responded to the texts. I'd respond to other things merely to prove I was still alive, but anything about Europe elicited radio silence from me. Madison was the first to notice. "You are acting strangely over the trip." She messaged me privately in early March. "Are you mad or something?" "Nope," I responded. "I'm just preoccupied with work." "Have fun." "Okay. So, try not to be envious when we share pics, lol. I simply liked the message and went on. In early March, my mother called me. This was the first time she had called in months. She typically only texted. "Hello, honey. I simply wanted to check in. You've been really quiet recently." "I've just been busy, Mom. Work-related topics." Right. "I hope you aren't still furious about the Europe thing. It wasn't personal. We simply thought." "Mom, I am not upset. Really. I hope you all have a wonderful trip." She appeared suspicious, but let it go. "Okay, fair enough. We leave on April 14th. I will send pics." "That sounds wonderful." What she didn't know was that I was going on April 13th. The day before their journey to Paris, I was boarding a plane bound for Tokyo. I'd told no one. Not my parents, not my siblings, not even my pals from Ohio. As far as everyone knew, I was simply working as usual, being the boring old responsible me. I arrived in Tokyo on April 14th, the same day my family landed in Paris. The irony was not lost on me. While they were probably exhausted from their flight and check-in at their hotel, I was standing in the middle of Shibuya Crossing, watching thousands of people pass by in perfect organized chaos. And I started taking photographs. Not much at first, just a few photos of the crossing, a temple I visited, and some wonderful cuisine I ate. I uploaded these on Instagram and Facebook with short descriptions. Tokyo, Day 1. The best ramen of my life. This city is unreal. I should mention that I had approximately 480 Instagram followers. I never posted frequently, only a few times every year. So when I abruptly began providing daily articles from Japan, people noticed. The first comment from family came on Day 2. I posted a photo of myself at Sennoji Temple in Asakusa, which is one of Tokyo's most gorgeous temples. The morning light was ideal, and I had requested a friendly tourist to snap the photo. Madison said, "Wait, where are you?" I did not react. My mother texted the family group chat, "Is that Japan? When did you go to Japan?" But I didn't respond. Let them ponder. Day 3, I shared a photo from the sumo tournament. Front row seats, big wrestlers battling in the ring. The entire wonderful atmosphere is captured in a single image. The caption was straightforward. Check the bucket list. Tyler D. MED me. What's going on, bro? Are you really in Japan right now? I left him on red. Day 4 was spent at a ryokan in Kyoto. I posted a photo of the classic chamber with sliding paper doors, the view of the private garden, and the overall aesthetic perfection of it. Then there was another photo of the kaiseki supper, which had 12 dishes of the most gorgeous creative food I'd ever seen. My phone was exploding at this point. My family group chat was filled with messages that I refused to read. I received 19 missed calls from various family members. But I was too busy enjoying my life to care. See what they didn't realize. While others were fighting crowds in Paris, dealing with tourist traps in Rome and uploading the identical photos in front of the Eiffel Tower, I was experiencing truly unique experiences. I was the sole American at the sumo competition. The ryokan where I stayed had only 8 rooms and required reservations 6 months in advance. I was eating at places they had never heard of, seeing sights most tourists never see, and capturing it all. Days 6 through 8 were spent in Osaka, eating fantastic street food, taking a day excursion to N to see the deer, and enjoying an amazing night scene that didn't require any narcotics. Then I flew to the Philippines. Palawan was where things really got heated. I'm talking about crystal clear water, limestone cliffs, private beaches, and the full paradise package. I arranged a 4-day island hopping cruise that took us to lagoons and coves that appeared to be photoshopped, but they were real. And I was there. The first day we went kayaking through the secret lagoon. This little aperture in a limestone wall led to a hidden pool of blue water surrounded by cliffs. I sat in my kayak in the center of the lagoon, absolutely alone, save for a few fish swimming beneath me. I actually started laughing. Not because anything was humorous, but because I felt truly pleased and free. I couldn't recall the last time I felt this strongly among my relatives. The second day went even better. We went to 8 different islands, snorkeled in water so clean you could see 60 feet below, and ate fresh fish on a sandbar that only occurs at low tide. The boat captain told me stories about growing up in Palawan, how the islands have evolved, and what he wants for his children's future. A genuine personal connection with someone I'd just met. More important than any chats I'd had with my siblings. I posted a photo of the large lagoon in Alito. This breathtaking emerald green water is encircled by high cliffs. Caption: Found paradise. That's when my mother finally broke. She called me a dozen times in a row. I let it go to voicemail every time. Then she sent a text that was essentially a novel. I don't comprehend what's going on. You said you were fine with the Europe vacation. Why are you now in Asia? Why didn't you tell anybody? We are your family, and we had no idea you were even traveling. This strikes me as incredibly passive, hostile, and hurtful. I suppose we should chat when you get back. I've read it. I even laughed a little. Then I returned to enjoying my kayak ride through a hidden lagoon. The trip lasted another 6 days. More incredible beaches, amazing food, and unforgettable experiences. I posted almost daily, and every single post received feedback from family members ranging from confused to angry to guilt-trippy. I replied to none of them. I returned to Austin on April 27th. My family had been home from Europe for about a week by that point. The group chat had been a constant stream of messages that I had mostly ignored, but I recognized a pattern. Initial enthusiasm for their trip, then increased focus on my trip, and finally obsession with why I hadn't told them. Madison's Europe posts received approximately 60 to 110 likes each. Standard tourist fare. The usual sites include the Eiffel Tower and the Colosseum. My posts about Japan and the Philippines received between 200 and 300 likes, as well as numerous comments inquiring about my itinerary. The algorithm gods were clearly on my side. The confrontation occurred 3 days after I returned. My mother called, and this time I answered. Hi, Mom. Don't you say hi, Mom. What was all that about? What is it all about? You know exactly what it is. Traveling to Japan and the Philippines without informing anyone. I'm posting all of the pictures I took while we were in Europe. It felt like you were trying to outdo us or something. I let the silence last for a moment. Mom. I recently returned from a vacation. I hadn't realized I needed to discuss my travel plans with you. That isn't the point. And you know it. Why haven't you invited us? Why didn't you tell us you were leaving? And there it was. The opportunity I had been waiting for. Why should I invite you? I inquired, keeping my voice perfectly calm. Because we are family. Interesting. I seem to recall being told that I would not fit in on a family trip. I believe the exact words were, I'd bring the mood down. So I decided to plan something for the people who wanted me there, which in this case was just me. I continued while there was silence on the other end. But, to answer your question directly, Mom, why didn't I invite you? Because you would not fit the vibe. According to what you told me at Christmas, the vibe of my trip was about appreciating culture, trying new things, and actually enjoying travel rather than just collecting photo ops. That isn't really your thing, right? That is not fair. That situation was different. How was it different? You planned a family trip and specifically excluded me because you thought I wasn't entertaining enough. I planned a trip but didn't invite you because, well, same reason I suppose. Doesn't feel good, does it? You are being cruel. No, Mom. I am being honest. For the first time in perhaps my entire life, I'm being completely open with you. You made it abundantly clear at Christmas where I stand in this family. I'm the afterthought, the one you tolerate, the one who doesn't belong. So I stopped trying to fit. I heard her cry, which didn't move me as much as it would have a year ago. I didn't mean it that way. We just thought, you're always so serious and we wanted a fun trip. And I'm sure Europe was great fun. I'm happy you enjoyed it. My trip was also enjoyable, albeit in a different way. In an apparently unappreciative manner. So everyone is happy. I'm not satisfied. I am hurt. Welcome to my world. The conversation did not end well. She hung up on me after accusing me of attempting to destroy her family. I texted the group chat. I'm available if anyone wants to have an actual conversation about this. Otherwise, I'll be living my life. The outcome was predictable, but still kind of amazing to watch. Madison was infuriated. She shared a lengthy Instagram story, which I only saw because a friend screenshotted it, about toxic family members and people who can't be happy for others. The irony was thick enough to spread on toast. She couldn't be happy for me going on such an amazing trip, but I was the toxic one. Tyler messaged me once. That was cold, brother, I replied. It was also disappointing to be excluded from a family trip on Christmas morning. I guess we're even. He did not text back. My father called several days later. He was the most reasonable of the group, which is not saying much. Look, son, I understand you were hurt about the Europe situation, but what you did felt retaliatory. It was not retaliatory, Dad. It was just me, living my life. The fact that you all misinterpreted it as an assault speaks something about you, not me. You knew exactly what you were doing when you posted all those pictures while we were traveling. I was chronicling my vacation in the same way that Madison does with her meals and Tyler with his video games. Why does it vary when I do it? He had no decent explanation for that. Let me ask you something, Dad. What if the circumstances had been reversed and I had arranged a trip and purposely excluded everyone else because they wouldn't fit in? Silence. You know the answer. There would have been an intervention. Mom would have sobbed because I was ripping the family apart. Madison would have posted about it to express compassion. You would have lectured me on the importance of family values and the need for unity. Tyler would have cracked jokes at my expense. However, when it happened to me, everyone simply moved on to receiving presents. Nobody acknowledged how twisted up things were. Madison and Tyler piled on. And you sat there, staring at the carpet as if it were the most intriguing thing you'd ever seen. I know, he murmured, his voice filled with shame. I should have said something. Sure, you should have. But you didn't. You didn't say anything when I was paying rent at 19 and Madison was living for free. You didn't say anything when I worked through high school and Tyler played video games. Just as you never said anything when your other children had more than I did. You're correct, he said gently. It was not handled properly. No, it was not. And I spent many years letting things slip, thinking that one day I'd be accepted as a genuine part of this family. But Christmas made it apparent that wasn't going to happen. So, I am done trying. That conversation marked the beginning of a significant shift in my connection with my family, or rather, the lack thereof. I stopped initiating communication. No more texts, no more calls, no more being the one who kept the family in touch, and the stillness was deafening. Weeks passed without anyone contacting me unless they had a specific request. Between early March and August, my mother contacted me exactly 5 times. 3 were technical support requests. Madison reached out twice. Both times, she asked me to legitimize whatever turmoil she was going through. Tyler did not contact me at all. Mother's Day happened in May. For the first time ever, I did not send a gift. I just texted, "Happy Mother's Day," and left it at that. My mother called upset. I just didn't feel like it suited the vibe, I explained. Then I feigned that my doorbell was ringing and hung up. Same thing goes for Father's Day. Birthday cards were forgotten. Holiday travels home became prohibitively expensive or had horrible timing with work. Every reason they'd ever used against me, I recycled right back at them. The aftermath from what I began calling the Japan incident continued to affect my family in unforeseen ways. Madison's boyfriend dumped her roughly 3 months after their trip to Europe. He'd been paying attention to how she handled me, and he wasn't pleased. When she told him about the plane tickets, she undoubtedly expected him to support her, but he supposedly remarked, "That's actually really messed up," and began to back away. She blamed me for the breakup, despite the fact that I had never spoken to him. Second domino. My parents finally kicked Tyler off the couch. Perhaps watching me actually do anything with my life made them understand their baby son would not miraculously become productive. He found a job at a cell phone store and relocated to a cheap apartment with a roommate. He repeatedly complained about it in the family group chat. I never replied. Third, Aunt Elaine, my mother's sister, called me unexpectedly in August. We'd never been close, but she'd seen my travel photos and had heard about what happened at Christmas from family members. She said, "I just wanted you to know that I think what your mother did was wrong." I told her that. She did not take it well, but someone had to say it. I later learned that my mother and Aunt Elaine had a major disagreement over this. Apparently Elaine brought it up during a family cookout, and my mother made a scene defending herself. Half of the extended family now knows the story about the Europe tickets. My mother's reputation as the world's greatest mother suffered a significant blow. I started dating Emily, whom I met at a work conference. I informed her about the family issue early on. The first time she met my folks was intended to be at Thanksgiving. Supposed to be. My mother had been texting about Thanksgiving for weeks. "We would love to meet Emily. It would mean a lot to have everyone together. Let us start fresh as a family." Then she sent the menu she had planned. All of the traditional turkey stuffing ingredients are used. She wrote at the bottom, "And I'm making that green bean casserole Madison loves." I stared at that text for a long time. In 29 years my mother had never asked me what my favorite dish was. Never cooked anything special for me, but she made it clear that she was making Madison's favorite. I replied back, "Actually, Emily's family invited us to Colorado for Thanksgiving. We're going to do that instead." The reaction was swift. "What? You're choosing her family over yours?" Her family didn't reject me from a trip because I didn't fit in. So yes, I'm choosing them. She did not reply for 4 days. When she eventually did, she left a lengthy message about how I was pulling the family apart, keeping grudges, and that Christmas had passed months ago. "You should move on." I replied, "I have moved on. That's the problem, isn't it?" Thanksgiving in Colorado was incredible. Emily's family embraced me as if I had always been there. Her mother inquired about my career and truly listened. Her father and I spent the afternoon renovating the back porch while conversing about nothing in particular. Her brothers incorporated me into their fantasy football trash talk as if it were the most normal thing in the world. The cabin was a stunning A-frame in the mountains near Denver. There were perhaps 16 persons there. Parents, siblings, cousins, and an uncle shared the same fishing story 3 times. Normal family stuff. The kind of mayhem I'd seen in movies but never experienced firsthand. At dinner, her mother made a point of asking everyone what they were grateful for. When it got to me, I expressed gratitude for being where I felt wanted. Emily clasped my hand beneath the table. Her mother shed a few tears. Her father nodded as if he understood what I meant. Following supper, her brothers dragged me into a heated board game tournament that lasted until 1:45 a.m. Nobody asked me to fix their computer. Nobody made me feel as if I were taking up space. Her grandmother kept sneaking me extra pie because you're so skinny, honey. I realized I had spent 29 years attempting to achieve something that this family had given me in 29 minutes. December arrived, and my mother launched the Christmas advertising. Texts, phone calls, and even a handwritten letter. Something she had never done before. The letter discussed how family is everything and how she could not fathom Christmas without all of her children around. I responded with a single sentence. "Last year, when you handed out those travel tickets, you had no trouble imagining Christmas without me." She called, weeping. I let it go to voicemail. The voicemail was 10 minutes long, filled with tears and justifications. "We never intended to hurt you. You're overreacting. Madison and Tyler miss you so much." There was not a single actual apology. There was no admission that what she had done was wrong. I texted her. "Please let me know when you are ready to really apologize, not excuse or justify. Until then, I'll spend Christmas with those who want me there." On Christmas Day I was in Emily's childhood bedroom in Colorado, video conferencing with her extended family members who were unable to travel, Her grandma complimented me on my eyes and inquired as to if I intended to marry her grandchild. I laughed and mentioned that I was working on it. We opened our presents in the morning. And this is what got me. Emily's mother had given me actual meaningful gifts. She noted my watch was scratched up and suggested a lovely one. A cookbook from a restaurant I recalled liked few months ago. She remembered. She paid attentively. She cared enough to put out effort. I almost cried when I opened them. Emily noticed and asked if I was all right. I told her that I had never received Christmas gifts that had been thoughtfully chosen. Meanwhile, my phone was filling up with texts from Ohio and images from Christmas morning. My vacant chair is evident in several images, as are notes from Madison stating that it was not the same without me. Tyler shared a selfie with a fake smile. My father just texted, "We miss you, son." I responded, "I miss having a family that treated me like I mattered." Guess we're both dealing with loss. Tyler texted me 3 days after Christmas. It was unexpected. "Hey, can we talk?" I almost disregarded it, but something prompted me to react. "What is this about?" "I've been thinking about something. The European trip. This is how things have always been. Wasn't I a very bad brother?" I did not sugarcoat it. "Yes, you were. I understand. I apologize." Then he did something none of my family members had ever done. He became particular. "I apologize for laughing when Mom claimed you didn't suit the vibe. I apologize for never standing up for you. I apologize for all the Christmas mornings when you received rubbish gifts and I said nothing. I apologize for piling on instead of having your back." What brought this about? Honestly, I work in retail. I deal with entitled people all day who treat me as if I'm invisible. And I keep thinking about how you must have felt in your own family. I was one of the persons that caused you to feel that way. We exchanged texts for nearly an hour. He informed me that being kicked out and having to work had changed his perspective. He finally understood what it was like to work hard and not be appreciated for it. I told him I appreciated the apologies, but the words were simple. I had to witness continuous action before I could trust him again. "Fair," he said. "I will keep working on it." 4 weeks later, he drove to Austin. This was the first time a family member had paid me a visit in the 5 years I had lived there. We had lunch at a taco eatery I like. He walked around downtown and stopped by a guitar shop because he was interested in learning. We had actual chats as normal brothers would. It was strange, odd, and kind of pleasant. We discussed his job. It turns out that retail is humbling if you've never worked before. He told me about a customer who yelled at him for 20 minutes over a phone case. "And I just stood there taking it because I needed this job," he claimed. "And I remembered all the times I saw Mom and Dad disregard you, and you simply accepted it because what else were you going to do? Leave? You were a youngster. It took me 29 years to actually depart." I said, "Better late than never." Before he went, he remarked, "Mom's losing it, by the way. She didn't get what she wanted for Christmas, and you're coming home and pretending everything's fine, and she doesn't know how to handle it. It's no longer my concern. I understand. I'm just saying she's finally realizing her mistake. It's unclear whether she will admit it." Early March brought the big one. My father showed up to my residence. There's no warning. Someone just knocked on my door on a Saturday morning. I almost didn't let him in, but he appeared fatigued and older than I remembered. So I made some coffee and we sat down. "Your mother doesn't know I'm here," he said. "Okay. I've been doing a lot of reading about favoritism, about family dynamics, about how parents can hurt their kids without realizing it." He put down his coffee cup. "That Christmas with the tickets, I've played it 100 times. The expression on your face when you realized there wasn't one for you, and I just sat there. Yes, you did. I helped plan it. I knew we were leaving you out. I convinced myself it was all right because you probably couldn't get any time off anyhow." He shakes his head. "That is rubbish. I knew it was bad, but I did it anyway because it was simpler than confronting your mother." I did not say anything. Let him keep going. "You deserved better. Your entire life, you deserved better. I saw you work twice as hard as your brother and sister and receive half the credit. I watched you pay rent while they lived for free. I watched as you were ignored and overlooked, and I said nothing." He stared me in the eyes. "I apologize. I'm not sorry you were hurt. I apologize for what I did and didn't do. All of it." We spoke for 3.5 hours. He mentioned specific things like birthdays, successes, and times when he could have stood up for me but didn't. He did not make excuses. He simply owned it. At the end, I told him I appreciated his visit, that it meant something, and that I wasn't ready to forgive yet. But it was a start. He asked if he may hug me. I let him. First time in years. After he departed, I texted him. Thanks for coming. That took guts. He responded. Should have done it 22 years ago. Mom still has not apologized. Madison is still playing the victim, but I have my father truly trying. Tyler is slowly coming around. And a woman whose family treats me better than mine ever has.